This is When You Were Everything, chapter Small Plates, pages 187 to 193, and it's a now. Small Plates. At Dolly's on Sunday afternoon, a man, who has to be Pop, meets me at the door, seats me, and takes my order. He's the kind of older black guy, whose face is covered in moles, and whose large, sturdy frame looks like he can lay bricks as well today as he may have back when he was in his 20s. He smells like peach pie. When I ask him about Dom, his eyes light up, and the rust-brown skin around them crinkles as he grins. He's back in the kitchen. I'll send him out here to you as soon as I put your order in. Now that I've decided to double down on my New Memories project with Sydney's help, I've laid out a whole map of the city, with a place or two we'll need to visit each week. I pull out the notebook I've started carrying around to keep track of what we can do in each location. Sydney also texts me her off-the-wall ideas all the time. I write them down, though I doubt I'll ever climb the Alice in Wonderland statue in Central Park and scream, "We're all mad here," or play a game at the Met. Two suggestions that she seems especially proud of. If we follow the outlined plan, though, I'll have exorcised or removed Layla from all my favorite places by June. A few minutes after I put my notebook away, Dom slips into the booth across from me. "Hey," I say. He grins and says, "You're here," like I'm some kind of miracle instead of an unremarkably sad girl. "I told you I come here every Sunday, Dom," I reply, "but I won't lie. It's nice to feel wanted." He pulls a few thin, folded pages from his apron pocket and slides them across the table to me. When I unfold them, I see that it's his Macbeth assignment. I read the title, and it surprises me. A Madman, or A Man Driven to Madness. The roles of fate and free will in Macbeth. I look up at Dom, and he has a smirk on his face that just about ends me. "I thought you were going to write about ambition," I say. "Yeah, I was, but after our rousing or exciting debate, I was inspired." He muses, and I laugh. "Plus," he continues, "I still get into the role of ambition in Macbeth's downfall. This take on it was just much more complex. And you might not know this about me yet, but..." He leans across the table closer to me and tips his head in a way that beckons me forward. I lean toward him, too. "I love complexity," he whispers, bouncing his eyebrows up and down. Dom hops up and heads back to the kitchen, and I start reading. Even when the food arrives, I don't put Dom's paper down. I start to see how each of Macbeth's choices played a bigger role collectively in his death than the prophecy alone. But I don't want to tell Dom that. When I lower the pages and look at the food on the table, I've clearly gotten someone else's order by mistake. Instead of a burger, there are 4 delicious-smelling appetizer-sized servings. A few ribs stacked like a log cabin with a sticky, sweetly scented sauce. Something round and fried, a rice ball, I think. A few crunchy fried chicken wings garnished or topped with something thin and green. And a miniature pie with a glistening crust. I look around the restaurant, wanting to explain that I didn't order any of this. But Pop is taking an order at a table across the dining room. And the one other server is busy too. I'm just about to stand up to look for Dom, and when I see him coming around the corner toward me. "Hey, I didn't order any of this." "Yeah, I know. I canceled the burger and made this for you instead. I want to know what you think." I look from the plates to him and back again. "You made all this?" I ask. "For me?" Dom nods and steps a little closer to the table. "So, I have this idea. When I visited my mom in Atlanta for Christmas, she took me to this soul food place, right? And it was really good. But I felt so heavy after because the portions were huge." He rests his arm on the back of the booth where I'm sitting, and his sudden closeness makes me aware of how little space there is between us. I also try not to get too hung up on the fact that he just casually mentioned his mother for the first time ever, and I'm dying to know more about her, more about him. I just focus on filling and emptying my lungs slowly and evenly, thinking of him under trees hanging heavily with southern humidity because I can't imagine Georgia in winter, his skin deepening under the summer sun to an even darker brown while he eats fried foods and drinks cold, sweet tea with a lady who looks exactly like him. So I thought, what if we added soul food to the menu? You know, all the stuff people love, mac and cheese, greens, candied yams, ribs. But here we do it in smaller portions, with gourmet presentation. He gestures to the plates on the table, with their smears of sauces and decorative garnishes. And I can see it, an a la carte menu where you pick as much or as little as you want. Regulars would love it, and the change might attract new clientele too. It's a great idea, and I want to marvel at him, but I'm worried if I look up, I'll forget how to breathe again. Pop thinks it's too newfangled. Those were his actual words, but Lolly told me to work on getting my recipes right, and that we could feature one of my mini plates as a special once a week as I work them out. Dom nods at the 4 plates on the table. These are the first few recipes that I think are in good shape, and I'm hoping if the rollout of the specials goes well, they'll let me do more revisions to the menu. He rubs his hand over his hair, and I get a whiff of that Dom scent, with a little flour and butter mixed in. I reach for a wing. I take a bite, and it's crispy and juicy, still hot and packed with flavor. I was planning to talk to Dom about his Macbeth paper, but now I can't even remember why. Dang, I say. Good? He asks. I nod, and after I finish the wing, I reach for the tiny pie. It's peach, and when I bite into it, it's syrupy, but somehow not overly sweet. The thing that I thought was a rice ball is a hush puppy, Dom tells me, a small fried knob of cornbread. I eat it all. And when he tries to reach for the last rib, I give him a quick evil eye that makes him laugh and snatch his hand away. They're cooked so well that the meat nearly slips away from the bone as I lift it to my mouth, and the sauce is tangy, with a slight kick that lingers on my tongue even once it's gone. It's all so good that it's a little devastating. So your mom's still in Atlanta? I ask as I napkin off my fingers and dab at my mouth. You used to live there with her, right? I think I remember you saying that over the summer. Dom yawns and looks around the now mostly empty restaurant. Yeah, he says, but he doesn't say anything more about her. I think being up all night finishing that paper is catching up to me. He crosses his forearms and rests his chin on the top of them. He closes his eyes for a second, and I take the opportunity to unabashedly stare at his pretty face. His skin is the color of fire-stained bottom of a copper pot, and his eyelashes are so thick and black it looks like he's wearing mascara. The sharp angles of his shaped-up hairline and the elegant swoops of his wide nose make me want to write poetry, and don't even get me started on the pouty curve of his lips. He opens his eyes and catches me staring. He grins, and I look down at my hands. They've come to rest on his paper. I slide the nearly forgotten pages slowly across the table, but I don't say a word. Embarrassed, he caught me watching him, unmoored by his paper, which was so much better than I expected it to be. So, Dom says, I take a sip of my milky tea, the only thing I ordered that I actually got, and reach for the last hush puppy. You can't just read my whole paper, a paper you pretty much inspired, and then not tell me what you think. I still don't say anything because I'm disarmed by him a little, but by the way he's looking at me, by the way he can cook and write. A small part of me is also a little too proud to admit he was right about Macbeth's free will versus the witches and fate. I jokingly lift my hand and look around the restaurant like I need the check, and he rolls his eyes. Nah, you're not getting out of this that easily, Shorty. He reaches across the table and pulls my hand down, and his palm is warm and rough on my arm. I shrug and grin, staying quiet. You're impossible, he says, and he stands to leave. I let loose the laugh I was holding in. I shove the last bit of food left on the table, a quarter of the mini pie, into my mouth. You were right, I mutter, I hope he doesn't hear me, since I'm talking around crust and fruit and a smile I can hardly hide. But he turns around almost instantly. What? He says. He squats next to the table with his elbows along the edge, like a server trying to make sure he hears an order correctly in a crowded, bustling room. But Dolly's isn't either of the two, so I know Dom just wants to hear me. I roll my eyes even though I'm thrilled about every part of the situation, the food, the conversation, the closeness. I swallow the pie. You were right, okay? Macbeth totally made those choices. Even if the prophecy made him think he deserved to be king, he chose to kill Duncan and everyone else. He made the ultimately tragic decisions, not the witches. Dom bites his bottom lip. That's interesting, he says. I was going to tell you that writing the paper made me realize that it's you who might be right after all. Before he has a chance to elaborate, Pop is there, checking in on me. Do you need anything else, hun? He asks. I don't think so, but do you need any help around here? I ask him, remembering how he seated me and took my order. It's so nice to be away from home and the drama with Layla. It's thrilling to be so close to Dom. I feel like I could talk to him forever. I'm desperate to have an excuse to hang out with him, and I'm not brave enough to just tell him that I want to, that I like him. And while I think we might be becoming friends, I'm not sure if that matters. My faith in friendship has been shaken, and I'm not sure if I'll ever get it back. Pop looks surprised. But I'm already here every weekend. It wouldn't be much of a stretch for me to come in a few days a week, too. I could use the experience, I add. We won't be able to pay you very much, Pop says. He rubs a hand over his head the way Dom sometimes does. Oh, don't worry about that, I say. I look up at him with eyes full of hope. Well, we really would appreciate the help, he says. He looks like he's thinking about it, and when I glance over at Dom, his dark eyes are stretched wide, and he's nodding a little in Pop's direction. It makes something inside me sprout wings and take flight. Maybe you could host us and wait some tables too, for tips, he adds. I nod enthusiastically and Pop smiles. Okay then, I don't see why not. If you're free now, maybe Dom can show you around.